Hello, Namaste, Adab, Sat Sri Akal, and Vanakkam. So, after 12 years of flat design, Apple has finally refreshed its design language this summer and announced it during WWDC 2025. And iOS 26 is the talk of the town because of the new liquid glass design language, which is a result of the redesign of the UI, which ranges from icons to buttons, and it also introduces some new features to the mobile operating system. The last time such a drastic design change occurred was in 2013 when Apple adopted flat design in its mobile operating system, and it slowly spread to its other platforms the following year. Liquid Glass also permeates to other software platforms of the Apple ecosystem, which includes macOS, iPadOS, tvOS, watchOS. With this comes an important question. Even though Apple supports iPhones for 5 to 6 years with major software updates, but how well do iPhones that are a few years old handle the latest OS update, especially a major design refresh like this? And so, in this video, I'm going to share my experience of running iOS 26 on my base variant iPhone 14, which is my daily driver. So without much ado, let's dive straight into it right after the intro. So it's been almost a month and a half since I upgraded from iOS 18 to iOS 26, and honestly, when it comes to daily usability, I have no complaints about the UI at all. In fact, I actually enjoy playing around with this whole liquid glass thing, contrary to a few people who have been bashing it and comparing it to Windows Vista or 7. Now, liquid glass mimics the physics of how light behaves in the real world when it refracts, and naturally, you might wonder, how well does it perform and what about battery life? Well, the A15 chip handles all those liquid glass effects with ease, and it barely heats up. iOS is already good at managing memory. Even on iPhones with 4 GB of RAM, iOS manages multitasking competently since the system intelligently manages apps running in the background. But that extra 2 GB of RAM on the iPhone 14 definitely helps. More apps stay in memory, animations feel smoother, and multitasking just flows better. Navigation stays snappy, and even if an app isn't cached, it reloads in a second or two, something newer iPhones handle even faster. Only time it feels a bit choppy is with low power mode since it limits the CPU GPU to save energy. Overall, it's a super and well optimized experience. That being said, I'm happy to report that my battery health hasn't dropped. But since I'm on iOS 26.0.1 at the time of recording this video, I have noticed slightly less battery backup compared to the original iOS 26 release, which becomes worse if I use mobile data on 4G or 5G. Hopefully, Apple addresses this issue in the next update. And just a quick note, if your battery health is nearing 80% or is already seeing service, I'd highly recommend a battery replacement. iOS does tweak performance based on battery health, and a new battery can really improve your experience with iOS. And also, you won't be constantly looking for a power socket to plug in your charger or carrying a power bank just to get through the day. So now that we have finished talking about everyday performance and battery life, let's talk about some of the features in iOS 26 which I like, starting with customization options in iOS 26. The default wallpaper in iOS 26 is pretty cool, and in the lock screen, the default clock face's height can be adjusted as you can see, and it really plays well with the depth effect. And here's the cool part, if you tilt your phone just a little, the icons and widgets actually respond by moving a little bit according to the device's orientation. The light border around them shifts direction, all based on the input from the accelerometer and gyroscope sensors. It is one of those tiny details that most people might miss, but that's so Apple. Their attention to detail is just unmatched. Apple has added clear icons option in iOS 26 in both clear and dark modes, but the regular dark mode icons look a little tacky to me as they are now neumorphic, and as you can see, the Beam UPI widget is just broken in clear and tinted mode. So I prefer to keep it in the regular look, and the icons look aesthetically pleasing and they have their own personality. Also, the default wallpaper in the lock screen also responds to the device's orientation in the lock screen, which is powered by the same parallax effect that we discussed a few seconds ago. And here are some other places where you can see the liquid glass design principles being implemented. Apple has tweaked the phone app as well in iOS 26. The tab bar in the bottom has been redone, and if you tap on someone's name in the recents page, it will open the contact poster by default instead of calling them directly. But don't worry, Apple has given you the option to change these settings if you are used to how things worked previously. The two new features introduced in iOS 26's phone app are Hold Assist and Incoming Call Screening. In incoming call screening, when your iPhone receives an incoming call from an unknown number, it will ask the caller for the name and the reason for calling you, and then your phone will ring, which will allow you to decide if you want to accept this call or not. This is a great feature, and your iPhone will now deal with those pesky credit card sales guys and spammers for you. While I can't show you incoming call screening working as a demo in this video, but I'll place a screenshot here which will give you an idea of how the feature works, and there are a few videos available on YouTube demonstrating the same. However, if you have Truecaller subscription and live caller ID enabled, then this feature will not work. One more thing I forgot to mention about the phone app is that there is a slight haptic feedback whenever someone answers your call. So there's a nice touch from Apple as well. This year, Apple has introduced a new feature called Auto Mix to Apple Music. This feature mixes two songs seamlessly as if a DJ would. Due to copyright constraints, I cannot play these songs being mixed together. So as a consolation prize, I will play one of my favorite new ringtones in iOS 26 which Apple has added. This is a variation of the reflection ringtone which has been there in iOS for a very long time. Apple has also redesigned the camera app in iOS 26 and the most used options in camera like photo, video, cinematic, portrait, etc. are easy to access by just swiping the options tab present under the shutter button. When it comes to camera quality, I don't see any degradation in the image processing pipeline and it still takes some decent photos and videos. Here are some photo and video samples from my iPhone's camera after I updated it to iOS 26. I hope this gives you a fair idea about the camera performance. When it comes to AI, my iPhone 14 unfortunately does not support Apple Intelligence and its related features of any sort, and it still has the legacy version of Siri which can do basic tasks like setting a timer or making you laugh, but for complex queries it either defaults to web searches or it cannot handle the query at all. But don't worry, you can still use ChatGPT or Google Gemini to get by your AI needs and questions. I don't see the absence of Apple Intelligence in this model as a major deal breaker for now, as Apple Intelligence is not up to the mark. Google Gemini and ChatGPT are much versatile alternatives. In iOS 26, Apple has also made some changes to the Photos app, following feedback from users about the Photos app in iOS 18. This update brings back the straightforwardness of iOS 17's Photos app while also improving it and adding some fresh features in iOS 26. And there is a cool new feature called Spatial Photos which uses advanced computer vision techniques to create a 3D image, as you can see. You can also use this feature in your lock screen. After 18 long years, Apple has finally let you set audio files as ringtone. Thank you, Apple, it is better late than never. Having covered general performance, battery life, and some of my favorite iOS 26 features, let's discuss some bugs I encountered with iOS 26. I have noticed that the keyboard has become a bit wonky and only realized this after texting my friends. It's the most irritating one I've encountered because it changes the words and I have to edit the message after sending it. Here are some more bugs which I encountered while using iOS 26.0.1. On forums like Reddit, people are posting about their frustrations with the bugs of iOS 26, as you can see. This is really disappointing and sad to see, as Apple's software was once the best because it just worked, but of late that reputation is sputtering. Alright, so to wrap this up, after using iOS 26 on my daily driver iPhone 14 for about a month and a half, it's been a decent experience overall. There are a few minor bugs but nothing major, and compared to iOS 18 it actually feels smoother and more responsive. Battery life has dipped a bit on iOS 26.0.1, especially on mobile data, which requires me to recharge my phone's battery 2 times a day. If you use an iPhone with 128GB of internal storage, it is probably a good idea to do some routine storage housekeeping. Delete unused apps and media and periodically back up your iPhone and its contents to your PC or Mac, or an external storage device or cloud storage service like OneDrive. If you are not using iCloud, this becomes even more important since future iOS updates can refuse to install due to lack of space. Overall, iOS 26 marks a new direction for Apple's software design. It is not perfect, but it is definitely exciting. And if you ask me, it is wise to wait for the 0.1 or 0.2 update before installing a major iOS version update like this on your main device, unless you're an early adopter or your work requires the latest version for security and compliance. I would recommend this practice in case you happen to run into this video a few months or years from now. And if your 5G is patchy, just switch to 4G. You don't need several hundred megabits or gigabit speeds to scroll through Instagram reels. That's it for this video. I hope you found my assessment helpful and insightful. And as always, let me know how iOS 26 has been running on your iPhone in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.